We rolling?
We're rolling? Okay, perfect.
Awesome.
See, look, we've already been rolling.
There we go.
The
We already
camera's been
started. Suzanne, Andrea, how you guys doing?
So good.
Very good.
We got the man who doesn't need any introduction.
Yo, what up?
What up? Awesome. We're excited to have you guys here. Just to introduce you guys a little bit, Andrea is #1 agent David Sen's wife.
#1 agent, David Sen's wife. I thought
Yes.
the #1 was coming from me.
She's the #1 wife.
And then we
my
have,
#1 fan.
there we go. And we have one of the newest additions to the team, Suzanne.
Here I am.
There you go. Happy to have you guys here.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
She made it to Oracle. That's a big deal. well, Andrew, you're kind of into
You've
it all.
always been part of it.
Suzanne worked her way to get into Oracle, so we like that. She's a hustler.
I actually feel like I'm making it my way into Oracle.
Andrew's an OG. There we go. Awesome. Shall we ask the first question here?
All right.
Suzanne. Da-na-na.
Drum roll.
So who is Suzanne Pennell?
Wow. Who's Suzanne Pennell? Well, a very small townie
Townie.
from Newfoundland.
Yeah.
Actually, we're just chatting about this on the drive-in. I guess I grew up, a very small town, super anxious kid. Didn't have a lot of friends, and spoke Newfie.
So goofy. What were those words you were telling us at the office that they use out there?
How's you getting on?
How's you getting on?
Excuse me?
And the reply, this is it.
Oh, man.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so a big transition from leaving Newfoundland at age 20.
Yeah.
We were supposed to leave on a Thursday, come back on a Monday, and never returned home.
Wow.
Crazy.
That is amazing.
Yeah,
Wow. Okay. That's cool.
yeah.
Now, how long have you been licensed for?
A couple years.
A couple of years now. That's awesome. So what made you become a realtor?
Well, you know what? I had a lot of friends in the industry. I did a lot of staging and decorating and kind of stuff like that, I guess, on the side for years. In addition to running a business, I did personal training, and I worked in a prison. But many people don't believe that.
I want you to talk more about that so badly. Please tell everyone how you worked in a prison. Yeah.
I worked in a prison.
What I took from that was like, you had a business too?
Yeah.
Oh, man. There's so many. See, there we go. There's so many questions we
So
want
many
to.
sides, yeah.
All right. Where do we
Surprise.
begin? Tell us about
The prison. Please tell us about the prison.
The prison.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Well, because I was a personal trainer, I had a friend who said, "Oh, I think you'd do awesome at this job." I don't know why. I think it was the
Yeah.
I think it was the physical aspect because I loved working out. So I think that's why she encouraged me to do it. And actually, the training was phenomenal. I loved it. The job itself, I mean, there was good and bad parts, I suppose. For me, being social, it was just hard for positivity, obviously.
Especially in a jail.
Yeah.
But on that note, can you please tell the story about the one you told me about the ABCs?
Oh my gosh, yes. So I think that's just it. Some people, their personalities jive. Some, they're in there on a power trip. Others have more compassion. This one, I was telling Andrea, this one particular day, there was a lady in segregation. And they could not get her to do anything except for banging her head on a wall for hours and hours straight. So in segregation, it's a bit different. We're kind of in this setting actually with, basically a hallway and glass and a microphone. And so we sat there and nobody could get her to do anything except for, like I said, making noise. And I don't know, it was just one moment came over me and I thought, you know what, I'm going to sing. So I started to sing the alphabet, literally A, B, C, D. And you know what? It was like a child came to life.
Wow.
And so there are definitely rewarding aspects of the job for sure. That being one.
She stopped banging her head, right?
She stopped banging your head.
Stopped banging her head.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that is why you are an amazing realtor, because you are great at managing personalities. There we go.
Gonna
And
pick
it's
up on the
also
clues.
why you're an amazing mom.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
That's awesome. And you had a business as well?
Well, I had my personal training business.
Okay,
and,
personal training.
Yeah, and then we also had a power line business.
Yes.
Yeah, so kind
That's
of
amazing.
a little bit of managerial, secretarial,
Yeah.
yeah, all combined in one.
Again, she's a hustler.
Right? And a lot of that is going to pay dividends for sure. That's super cool.
Yeah.
Yay.
And my 2 amazing kids, can't forget them.
Yeah. I was gonna ask. So, how old are your kids now?
Taya is 21 and Tage just turned 18.
Nice.
Yeah.
So they're young adults now. So
Yeah.
they're good. Give you some freedom again.
Yeah, totally different stage of life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. And Andrea.
Hi.
Hi. Wanted to ask you, how is it? It's really cool to have you on here because we're also going to see the behind the scenes, right? We're going to be talking about some of those things. I want to ask you, what is it like to be a realtor's wife, first and foremost, especially like a very busy one like David?
We talked about this too on the drive.
We talked about this on the drive. It's amazing being
Yeah.
his wife and him in general. I don't know about every realtor's wife, but being married to him is amazing. It's very busy. I think that's the side that people don't always see. It's very busy.
Yeah.
It's busy. But I think that it's why it's so important to have partnership because then, I don't know, you bounce off each other.
You need
right?
that balance, right?
Yeah.
Like, you've seen it firsthand more than all of us. You've been with David
Yeah.
since the beginning. So you saw when times weren't as busy, but now we're obviously a top producing team. You know, we're very well reputable agents. We do get that freedom too, though. Like,
That's
it's
the thing,
busy,
is
but
it?
we can
Yeah.
also do things on the fly. We can all go on vacations. We can go, you know, be at our kids' games and take the daughter out and all that stuff. But yes, it comes with that balance. So he might have to work while he's also out on about with you guys or something. But it also gives us that freedom and enjoyable times kind of thing, as opposed to being stuck at a 9 to 5. The 9 to 5 you're missing, regardless, right?
Which is, I guess, why I say it depends on whose wife you are.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I think that but the thing is, it's not just real estate, right? Like any relationship goes through, because like any time you have a hardworking partner, you're gonna go through anything like that, right?
Yeah.
But real estate, that's one of the things, is like it does give so much freedom, and it does give. I think that it's just in the world of what we see, we focus a lot on the like glamorous side of things. There's a lot of people that want the freedom,
Yeah.
but then there's another side to that that's actually like not freedom,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because you're at everyone's beck and call, right?
Yeah.
Because you have a lot of people relying on you, and they're big deals that
Yeah.
people are like, it's a lot of money on the line and a lot of things. So there's the behind the scenes pressure that people don't always see. I will say the cool thing though is that like me and David have related a lot since I became a mom, because it's the behind the scenes pressures that people don't see.
Yeah.
That,
Sure.
that
Yeah.
now I feel like we can understand each other different because I get how it relates on both sides,
Yeah.
right? But it does, the thing is, it does come with the freedoms. It's just, it takes a long time to get to the point.
Yeah,
of
and freedom comes with the
freedom.
price, right?
Yeah.
And that's what it is. You have to
Yeah.
pay the price for freedom. That's the hardest part.
It
We
does.
just talked about too, like appreciating each other, you know, little things that kind of,
Well, because
not
it's
going unnoticed.
exactly, because it's the small things. Because I think, because I've been with him since he started. We were 16 when we got together, so like I've been through the entire career, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's that I think it's hard as the wife to share your partner's time so much. Like I share him with so many people. And it's that, like, I think that it's really important for whatever career it is, for whoever that partner is that's out of the house, to do the little things. Like we were just talking about, like just making a cup of coffee when you make yours and being like, here you go, I thought of you, and then texting on your lunch break. Like those things make us like, oh my God, he loves me.
He's still thinking of me. Wow.
And I think that it's just when you get caught up in the grind of it, we forget that side, and then it gets this kind of issue because you're like, I'm doing this for you, but then I'm like not with you.
Yeah.
So but we're really lucky because we've been together so long, so we communicate, and so we
Yeah.
can work through that.
And it comes down to an understanding.
It does.
That's what it is. If
It's
you
the
can
teamwork.
understand each other, and it's a teamwork, right? And our job is high pressure because it's weird. Some days it could be like couple calls, couple things to do, but then some days it's like from 8 a.m. to like 1 a.m. we're working.
Totally.
Yeah.
Like
It's
even last night,
unpredictable.
me
I
and
get
David
that.
were texting each other. I was at a wedding event and it's like 1 a.m. and David had some thoughts come in his head. I was like, all right, perfect. I'll message you in the morning. It's like
He's
1
up.
in the morning. All right, David's up, right? I'm like, and it just goes both ways because sometimes some thought, like before I'm going to bed, I'm like, oh shoot, me and
Yeah.
David should try this for this property, or I'll message this person, right? It's just, it's hard to find a balance, I've noticed, with this job because it's just like, learn as you go.
It's
As you're
totally-
going, every day is new. It's always new scenarios, new
Yeah.
clients, new everything, right?
It could be lonely if you don't have support.
Yeah.
That's what I found. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, I mean, and I think that's the. So then, like, to be the wife of the realtor, to answer your question, I think that it really depends on the communication. Like, is that, like, the thing is that's crazy. It's like the reason they're such good realtors is because they're good with communication, right?
Yeah.
So, as long as
You would
you're-
think.
You didn't communicate this with me.
yeah, there's a lot of things because it's the person who's there, right? So
Yeah.
you kind of can, but then I think because we've been together for so long, we do have the communication. I do see the whole thing of it, and I do have the understanding. I think a lot of couples don't have that, and then it's when you get with the children, and then priorities change because then you don't want to be working all the time. You want to be home, but now you're used to your
your
Sure.
lifestyle, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm really marking up real estate here.
Well, you know what's cool about this? So when we first made the merge, I said to David, I was like, look, you're the best. I want to learn from the best. Like, can I spend a whole day with you? And spend a lot of time with David. And throughout that whole day, we were doing so many things together. I was just like going to all these appointments with him, just learning, just being a sponge. And I want to say, like, the first thing he said, I was like, hey, so what makes you who you are? Like, how did you get to where you are? And he's like, the most important thing, and I don't know if he remembers this, he's like, the most important thing is to have the best second half possible. In other words, he was saying, like, a lot of his success came from Andrea.
Thank you.
Now, you've already answered.
We love her.
We all love her, exactly. And you've already answered a little bit of it, but I think this is going to be good advice for those who are married or in a relationship with a realtor or entrepreneur for that matter. What are some of the advice that you can give to be that best second half to make sure that they perform the best way possible?
I'm actually gonna put this on
I think we just
Suzanne
talked about this.
because
Perfect.
me and Suzanne. So the thing that's really interesting with us
Yeah.
is that, like, so I don't want to like tell your story for you, but she was
That's
in a
okay.
marriage that she raised her kids with, and
Yeah.
he was busy. He's a busy guy, and she's amazing, and he probably was doing his best. You know, you're providing for the family and whatever, but then, you know, things grow apart, and I feel lucky because I'm very aware. I journal a lot, so I'm aware of my feelings and I tell them.
Expressive.
You know what I'm thinking. And so I caught it. Both of us got in our relationships really young, right? So we like. You need to also learn how to be apart. And so you need to learn how to be individual, but also still cater to that person that's at home waiting for you.
Yeah.
And so because you went through the marriage, I'm still figuring it out. I would love to hear your answer on this of what, can you ask the question again?
Essentially speaking, like, what is advice that you can give to wives or girlfriends, to people who are with someone in this profession, whether it be real estate or entrepreneurs for that matter? Because we kind of already touched upon it. In our profession, we are busy.
Yeah.
We're very
For sure.
busy. There's a lot of time that's taken away from us. So what
Yeah,
can you
I
guys
think for us, and like I said, not taking away from either one of our roles because we had important ones.
Yeah.
And being young, I guess, for us, we were both away from home. Our family was in Newfoundland, had a lot of pressure, starting a business. And yeah, he was doing his best. I was doing my best, but I guess we didn't see the best in each other. And there was zero work-life balance. So for me, I guess it's the little things like we said, you know, making the time, whether it's, you know, your children's Christmas concert to an occasion. And it's tough, right? Because as time goes on and you're together a long time, those things are forgotten and they're often not made up.
Yeah.
So it is tough, you know. So my son now getting into the same type of work, you know, he's young, but it's knowing that, sure, work hard, but also take time for yourself and in your relationships.
Yeah.
I think it's, yeah, like really prioritizing, because we say all the time, you do it for each other, right? I'm doing this for you.
Yes.
But you're not here.
I just want dinner together.
Yeah, like I think on both ends, a lot of times we really actually want something very simple. A lot of times is it, I just want to know that you hear me and see me, and that like you notice when I'm upset, and that you make the effort to like stop in that moment to listen, and then you can go back to being busy.
Yeah.
But when I need you, like you choose that first, because I think it's the feeling of being chosen, like the feeling that you're the highest priority.
Quality time
that was
is
like
important.
really what I was gonna say. Like it comes down to people get accustomed to it. You get used to things. You get used to your partner. You get used to everything. Habit, right? It becomes a routine. It becomes a ritual. You're like, I know that person's there for me. I can go focus on my business.
Exactly.
However, then you have to build the right priorities, because if you are doing this for someone, for example, your significant other, and you're not prioritizing them and you're prioritizing other things, who are you really doing it for?
Well, it's kind of just taken for granted.
Exactly.
You know?
So you can't take your other partner for granted. Yes, they're with you now, but if they're not prioritized and put also on the pedestal, which they should be, because end of the day, why I'm grinding, it's because I'm trying to build a better life for me and my girlfriend, eventually to be wife, so we can have a good system.
Exactly.
But if I stop, planting, I stop, like watering the plant, which she is kind of thing, then that
She's
plant's
a
gonna
beautiful
die
flower.
out. Right?
She's amazing.
We want her hair.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So like, if I don't water that plant, right? Just speaking in terms, well, that plant's eventually gonna die out. So I also have to maintain a certain care for that as well, and also care for my business, my health. It's not even a balancing act; it's a prioritizing act, and you have to prioritize the right thing. So make a list. All right, so if it's your wife, put wife first. So wife should get this many hours a day or a week kind of thing, right? Because for us, we don't know how many hours we put into real estate because it's kind of on the fly, right? So you have to kind of set that extra time aside.
I think I asked that question
You
on the
did.
time blocking.
And thanks for bringing that up, because that is true. Because I think that one of the biggest parts that's difficult in being married to an entrepreneurial type of man is that they're always hardworking. Like, I don't expect him to ever stop working. Like, that's just who he is. And it's the unpredictability, I think, that gets hard. Because, like, if someone's working a 9 to 5, then I'm with the child this long, and then he comes home, and then I have this relief, or we have whatever time. But whereas in an entrepreneurial type of business, it's all over the place. There's no consistency. So I think exactly what you just said, to be able to say, okay, on Saturday nights is your night. Like, that's what and I block out this time. Like, just having something consistent so that because I think, like we can do a lot of things. Like, we can take care of a lot of stuff.
For sure. I think women are more capable than men.
There's a lot that
I think women could juggle more things. I've seen it with my mom, right? Like, growing up, like an immigrant family, my mom was also working and also taking care of the kids. She would wake us up, drop me off at ice hockey practice at like 6 a.m. Then she'd drop us off at school at 8. Then she'd go to work, right? Like, my dad had a whole business to run. So I'm like, damn, my mom's like a beast. She's doing all this, right? Like, she's on beast mode, right? So it's like, I've always seen it, and especially in like my religion, in Sikhism, they say like women are princesses. They're like, women should be kept to a higher standard, right? So for us, the way we grew up, we've always believed in like women are actually more powerful, and they're the closest essence to God because they bring life to the world. Mm-hmm. So the way we grew up, we've always seen women as the actually more empowered and more spiritual and more enlightened being compared to men. Some people might not like me for that. Some people might not like me for that.
No,
right? But I personally grew up believing in that, right? Like, I have a lot of girl cousins, as you know how big my family is, and got a lot of nieces. Like, even my niece, she's a girl. And, like, women are just, I feel, more articulate, better organized, and they're able to think at an angle that men can't see. Like, there was this great podcast I was listening to by Jim Rohn. It was like a cassette tape. And women have better intuition. Mm-hmm. So husband and wife were sleeping in bed, and the wife shook the husband. She's like, something feels off. Check the downstairs door. He's like, oh, it's probably fine. He's like, no. She's like, go check the door. And when he got downstairs, the door was left open. Oh. How? Because women just have that intuition. They just know, kind of thing.
I will say on that too, I feel like, again, because like we've been together for so long, so we can really see how we were. You grow over time, right? So how we were versus now. And I've always been like an intro, and I think you're the same, where like we are the type that is pretty independent and like thinks our own thoughts and stuff. So we do a lot of that on our own, and we find out what we need. So there is that kind of like natural intuition. But I will say, I feel like in the last, like, I don't know if it's the world or having a baby or what that is, but I feel like that aspect has gotten more, and we're talking about it more, right? Like publicly talking about that stuff. So I feel like that's just come up for me more, that I do recognize like my own, like we were talking about, your independence, like you recognize it more. And I think it also, like, it's opened up a lot of conversations, just, like, noticing. And a lot of times I'm like, was I always like this? Or,
Yeah,
like,
right?
I don't know.
What changed? When did it change? Yeah.
And then it's starting, like, now I think it's really good that these conversations are happening, because then, like, we've really grown in that. And then there's so much that I've always respected him for, because in our physical world, like, he is very much the one that is, like, I'm kind of assisting him in what he's sort of doing, right? And it's really nice to now have the other side of it, to be more recognized, that, like, you are here the whole time. Just because you're not physically knocking on doors, that doesn't mean, like, who's the last one they call, right? Like, at the end of the day, when things go sideways, who are they calling? So, like, but I've noticed that if he's gonna be strong, then I have to be strong. Like, I have to. But there's a big issue, I think, in that when you're not happy, you have to admit it, because for so long I felt that feeling of that I'm, you know, like, sharing him with so many people. And but I think I didn't have the right wording to explain what I was actually feeling. So a lot of times I would say, like, oh, you don't support me, or, like, things like that. But it's not actually that. Like, he's supported me the whole time. But I think I was looking for things I didn't really know I was looking for, because they're such an internal, because women are feminine.
And they're often not aware.
And they're not aware. And so how do you expect him to know if you don't say it? So I had to actually, like, tell him I'm not happy.
Yeah, the right words and expressing yourself.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're done wrong.
Totally.
And then the other person might not understand what you're
Because
trying
they
to
think,
say.
like, oh, I'm providing this life for you. Like, I've given you all these things. Why are you not happy? And you're like, but I just want you to text me at lunch.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
Say
it's
hello.
Just, I just want you to say hi.
Hope you're having a great day.
Yeah, that's it. But
it me you're
because you
looking
get
for?
caught up in then, like, the priorities. But then if he thinks this whole time that he's doing the things that are giving me what I want, and meanwhile I'm thinking that it's not what I want, we're growing apart just because we didn't speak up. Like, it's just, you have to tell what you actually
And
want.
I love what you just said, because the man could be thinking he's giving you what you want, and you might not be wanting that.
So how
right?
long does that keep going,
So-
right?
And then eventually people trail apart. So, again, communication. Right?
just
You need to sit down and be like, the man needs to understand what the woman wants, and then the woman needs to understand what the man wants. If we just roll the dice every morning, all right, I'm gonna get them a house, let's go. I hope she's happy with that. But if you can actually just sit down and be like, hey, okay, I want you to message me good mornings, or if you're out for the day, you know, call me, this and that. Those are more important to me than a large house or luxury cars and this and that. I could live with the basement with you as long as we have these things, right? So
it's a real
Don't say
Oracle
you're not
spirit.
prepped.
yeah.
See, that's why I laughed at the start when Jim was just like, see, realtors are great at communication. Like, I think that's the vibe right here. Now, flipping the script a little bit, because I'm going to ask you something, because you just had your, now forgive me if I pronounce it wrong, it's Roque?
Yeah.
You had a
Yeah.
Roque. So now things are getting a lot more serious.
Yeah.
We're kind of talking about it on your guys' end, but now on your end, as things are starting to get more serious, like, what are you starting to identify with yourself and the business itself?
For me, I feel like my girlfriend's very understanding. She's also a mortgage broker. So she gets it. She gets it that, like, sometimes we might be headed to a day night and I'll get a call to go to a listing. There's been many times we've been on the highway and I'm like, all right, we got to pull a U-turn. Sorry. It is what it is. I got to get to this appointment. And she gets it. So for us, I feel like the job won't be a problem. It's going to be more staying in love with each other. Always, kind of thing. So to do that, we always have to do things together. Like, one thing me and her are very good at, we walk every day together. We go for a 1 hour walk
that's
every day.
nice.
We take our dog. We literally have dinner every night together. Like, I don't set appointments between 6 to 7. Because, like, that's one thing I told her. I'm like, I'll always have dinner with you. And no offense to her, she can't cook as good as me. So I like my dinner cooked, right? So I cook all my own stuff, and I always make us dinner and stuff. She washes the dishes. She's great at it.
The best out there.
She leaves the plates sparkling, right? So for me, I'm always cooking. We have roles. We trade it off. Like, I'll go buy the dog food, but she'll pour the dog food and make him eggs and his steak and stuff, right? So it's like we have, like, our roles on what we're doing together. I'll sweep. she'll wipe the counter. So it's like we have that balance. Because like for me, I'm a negotiator, right? That's my whole job. So I've negotiated my relationship. I'm like, all right, you want to do this? Okay, I'll do this if you do this, right? So
Jim's just worried about getting his protein in, that's all.
I was gonna say though, because like I feel that there is a lot to be said with homes that are raised with multiple, like just like multiple families in one home, or or also because like you guys do so many celebrations, so cousins are just always getting together.
Yeah, I literally last night I got home at 2:30 in the morning from a celebration.
Oh my gosh! It's just like, but you're always like connected to family, and I feel like because of that, I've just noticed there is so much more feminine energy, and like I feel like it's nice when family are raised by more than just mom and dad, because mom and dad have a lot of stuff going on, and they can't always be exactly what needs at that moment. And so sometimes the older sister or whatever, it helps you because you've always been someone who can really relate to women, and like you've always been able to communicate and talk and understand them. And I think a lot of why you know all that is because of the influence of other
like
women around you.
Like as we were saying, like I've got a lot of nieces, a lot of female cousins, and like I just grew up with them, right? So like I learned to understand the feminine side, because we all have it. We have a masculine side and a feminine side. It's just we're born with the dominant masculine, but we still also have a feminine side. And if we open our inner channels, again, now this comes back down to yoga and meditation, all these things, it's all in us.
Yeah.
It's just we have to learn how to activate it. And a lot of people are, again, caught up in their ego and pride, typically men, where they don't give the thanks that women deserve. Because if we go back in the day when there was like African American slave trade, it was actually the women who got the Africans to freedom. It wasn't the men. So if you guys read up on history, it was the housewives, because the men were out plowing the fields and all that stuff. It was the women that came together actually that started the first movement.
I believe it.
So yeah, a lot of history hasn't given the respect that women deserve. Like even coming back from my religion, when one of our Sikh's daughter, she escaped from her own village to go give freedom to prisoners herself when she was like I think 12 or 13 years old.
Oh my gosh.
Right? So like just even from our religion, like women were like the warriors too. So I feel like the way the society's kind of set up and like the media and all that, it doesn't give the respect that men also deserve and the respect that women also deserve. It's like they got us divided against each other, even though we're like supposed to be together because we fit like a glove, and that's what it's supposed to be, right? It's just they've divided it all up, so now people can't see eye to eye and all these things.
So going back to real estate, one thing I will say on that I noticed is that, like we were also talking about this, is that I think one of the issues too, so like because we got together young, like I was saying, we learned how to do everything together. So we never really learned how to be apart. Like there's things that I never had to, like I didn't have to grow up in a lot of ways. I've never had to pay the bills because I had him. Like I don't know, I was with him since I was 16. So that was how we progressed, right? But then in a lot of ways that also held me back because I didn't pursue myself. So there's a lot of fears and stuff I still have that I was able to kind of like just like ride in the passenger seat for a long time because he was taking care of it. But then I started to realize that the things that I'm looking for to make me happy are not, he's already happy. He's out there changing lives and like doing this thing. Like he's respected. Like I'm the one sitting at home like, when are you coming home?
Like we're going to football games, we're going to sauna steam sessions. You know, like we gotta have our own life kind of thing set too, right? So
and a lot of it is like we were saying, like sometimes that like almost like obsession, like where is he, when's he coming home, I can't handle whatever that is. Like a lot of it's because we're bored because we're not pursuing ourselves. And then on the flip side of that, he didn't need to take care of a lot of things that a young man would have to do, like to be in, you know, like as you move out and you become a man and you do whatever, because I've always been there. So he's never had to like, so there's just different, it's like on the opposite side, we didn't have to. So my point of that is that I think in real estate or any kind of entrepreneurial business, I think that the reasons it works is if both people are strong on their own. Like both people have to have their independence. Sure. Both people have to be able to, and then you kind of have to. I had this friend tell me one time that her and her husband had this deal where it was like he was going to work for 10 years and then she was going to work for 10 years. And I was like, well, you build for 10 years. Like, what are you going to do? But I would recognize that now as I feel like I from my own doing, like I felt it was I don't know, I just wanted to support him and what he was doing. That was my own choice. And so I did do that. And so I feel like that same mentality of now it's like, okay, now I'm ready to go and get my independence. And he's already kind of built his where he can have more time. So then you just kind of flip it. So now it's my turn to like be that, I feel that, right? And so I think that when you have, it's both being strong, because anytime, it doesn't matter what profession you're in, if one person is sitting at home waiting for you, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Like you can't, it's not going to work. You both have to be strong, and then you're able to balance each other out, right?
100%.
Yeah.
What I need to know is what else did you guys talk about in this call? It's like every time I say something,
our
we just spoke about this. We spoke about this. Anything else you guys want
We're
to share?
giving you the like toned down version.
All right, I'll let you guys touch on that in a bit here. This actually brings a perfect transition, because you were talking about independence, and you being in the passenger seats, you were eventually able to go in the driving seats. And why I say that is because Andrea is an author.
Yay.
Happy, skinny, pretty, outgoing, and rich.
Skinny, pretty, outgoing, and rich.
And where can you find this?
On Amazon.
On Amazon.
Amazon.
So can you tell us a little bit about this book?
Yes.
Would you like to hold it?
It's
I do
so
wanna
good.
hold
I didn't want it to end.
That's probably the best compliment I've ever received in my life. Yeah, I wanted to write a book. I met a mentor when I was like 24, 25, and she had written a book, and I've always journaled. It's something I've always done. And so I kind of always knew I wanted to write a book, but then I don't know. It's weird to share your thoughts and be like, I don't know.
just
It's
putting it out there in the world.
it's
Yeah.
weird. But then, so I really just wrote it for myself. But I did it because I've always done. I feel like because I did get in my relationship so young, and it's been a healthy, successful relationship, there's a lot of my perspective that is like not jaded because I have always, I don't know, I've had this like safety net there. And so I've always journaled and I've done all those things. And so fortunately I've been able to give back and do different like volunteer things. I've worked with a lot of like teenage girls and stuff like that. And I just see so much of how there's just so much. I can't imagine being a young person in the world today. Like, I feel like when we were young, for the most part, like, you had your stuff that happened at school, but then you go home and you have your four walls, and you can you have your family, whatever it is, and you can kind of block out the noise. Where now, I feel like it's a lot harder to block out the noise. And
You have social
was-
media.
everything.
It was
very
Everything.
simple.
You know that old saying when we all grew up? Moms always used to say it. That damn phone.
The damn
They
phone.
were right. They were right.
It is. And, But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, too, like, I feel like that's what I feel like we're probably all readers. And so reading is the same thing. You're distracting your own thoughts with somebody else's thoughts.
Yeah.
And I feel like early on, I looked at books as really cool because I was like, you're literally putting yourself in someone else's brain. Like, someone, the way they think, everything, they're giving that to you. And then I wanted it to feel like, I don't know. I like when you said that you didn't want it to end.
I did, and it was so good. And I related to it in so many ways,
Thank
you know,
you.
that I didn't talk about in my youth, I guess. Yeah.
Well, and that's what I wanted it. I wanted it to feel like a conversation. Like, I wanted it to feel, because I didn't want. It took me a really long time to write it because I wanted it to come from multiple perspectives. So it felt like you're like talking to someone. And I learned everything from journaling. I got to know myself. I started asking myself questions and I answered them. And then I learned who I was and how do you like yourself if you don't know yourself? Like, if you're just blocked out all the time, there's nothing to like because you're just waiting for someone else. I don't know.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to create something that, like, I just picture that kid at home who, like, has no friends and no one to talk to, and they don't want to talk to their parents because, like, they don't get the right reaction. And I felt like it would be cool to be able to, like, be in that space where they can pick up a book and they can just, like, feel my energy. And, like, yeah.
Awesome. And you read it as well, right?
I read it. Yeah,
Suzanne,
I
can you
loved it.
give us a review here? Can you tell us more about your experience with it?
My experience really made me reflect on my childhood, I guess. I mean, I grew up in a family. I knew I was loved, but it wasn't often talked about. I was very shy, not social, had a lot of anxieties, and really locked myself in my room a lot to music. So through the book, it made me go, oh, wow, okay, yeah, I did that. You know, I just kind of lost myself in a lot of some of the family stuff, just in tune with myself and writing lyrics and music. And like Andrea, I met my husband very young, and I loved it. So the whole, from everything from, insecurities, jealousies, confidence, body image, all of it, I really, really related to it.
I have this like total thing about like taking everything we think is wrong and like flipping it and making it okay. I don't know. Because I just started to learn that a lot of our problems are just because we're telling ourselves we're wrong. Like that's all it is. You're telling yourself
literally what
not
you're telling
to.
yourself. 100%.
Yeah, and then we blame someone else and tell them they're telling it. But really, it's your own head. Like there's a lot, and like you don't know what you don't know, and a lot of times it's a lack of language. Like you just don't know. For example, because obviously my daughter taught me a lot of it, and that's the other thing. That's how I'm able to reflect on childhood, is because I have a daughter who's reflecting it in front of me, and you see both sides, very obviously. And sorry, I forgot what I was going to say. That's very regular.
That's okay.
But my point was, there's.
Like you're seeing both sides of it, right? Like you're seeing your daughter growing up, and then you saw how you grew up. Like you're now able to. Maybe there might have been traumas of you growing up. And now you're able to catch yourself now and not reflect it onto your daughter.
Exactly. I catch
right?
it because
and
it's
you don't
my
wanna,
responsibility.
Exactly. Because you don't want to give your traumas inside to your daughter. Remember when we were on our vacation in Turkey, when we were at that restaurant, we had a crazy talk about like childhood traumas and all these things. Like I always think of that conversation because there was this saying, like most adults are just grown up children with a lot of traumas. And I was like, damn, because a lot of people just
totally
throw dirt on it and forget about it.
I think,
and that's actually probably eating you inside. And if you don't find a way to release it, it'll eventually just catch up and takes over, right? And then again, like you're saying, you're so good at taking things that are wrong or negative and putting the positive twist on it. And that's the best way to look at life because it's all your perception.
Totally.
Right? And then it's all about the I am. Like what are you telling yourself?
And what do you want to do different today, right?
Yeah.
Versus kind of how...
I just noticed with my daughter, it's like as soon as I tell her no, she wants it. She could have not even been thinking about it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, don't touch that. She's like, ooh, I want to touch that. Like,
right? Yeah, on purpose.
she didn't even see it. Whatever it was, she didn't even see it. But I pretty much gave her the instruction to like think about it, right? So then I started really recognizing how much I'm giving instruction. So there's so many, like, it's all about our wording. Instead of saying, don't walk on the sidewalk, or sorry, say, don't walk on the edge, say walk on the sidewalk, or whatever it is. Like, we tell them what not to do. We'll give them the command of what don't drop that. Don't do this, don't do that. Instead of saying, make sure you hold your cup with both hands. Like, we're not actually giving them the instruction of what to do.
Yeah, don't hold your cup with one hand. But instead, you put a twist on it. Hey, if you want your cup to be safe, hold it with both hands. Or don't walk on, like, saying don't walk on the edge of the sidewalk. Like, hey, if you want to walk and be safe, walk on the sidewalk kind of thing. Like, the twist of words, right? If we're always saying don't, no.
Exactly.
The kid's like, well, screw this person. They don't let me do nothing.
They rebel.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to rebel.
It's
Everyone
like
wants to go against it.
We tend to focus on the negative.
Yeah.
Or like have our tone be in that sense.
Yeah.
But also a lot of times, okay, so if I have my daughter, or our daughter's 4.5, and so if I tell her, don't drop your cup, now she's thinking about dropping her cup, but I never told her how to not drop the cup.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't come with a rule book.
So then I started realizing, instead of just don't even say that, just say, hey, can you please carry your cup with both hands? Oh, that's the other thing. Yeah. I fought her for like an hour to get out of the house because she didn't want to go to the bathroom, and finally she did it. And then at the end, later that night, like way later on, she's like, you know why I didn't want to go to the bathroom? I'm like, no, I don't. Why? Because you didn't say please. And then I thought about it, and I'm like, you're right. I didn't say please. And again, we constantly are telling them, say please, say thank you, do this, do that. But then when I'm telling her, I'm saying go to the bathroom. Yeah. So she's holding me accountable.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And so if I'm conscious enough to recognize my own behavior, then I stop it there and I admit, you're right. I should have said please.
So should have said please. Because you're always telling them.
Yeah.
Every little thing. Every little thing you have to do. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like parenting is like the next level of how it makes you, because you have to self-reflect if you want to, you know.
Yeah.
Totally.
But yeah, I learned a lot. I think as a parent, you start learning so much because your own childhood kind of just comes up, and then you recognize
things you don't want to do
Yeah.
moving forward, kind of. That's how I got a little bit out of the book too, you know, just my own children, one who also had anxieties, you know, and it's good because I'm very open with my children now. We literally were so close and we talk about everything versus I wasn't able to do that with my parents,
Yeah.
you know, so it's just, yeah, I mean, I think that's it for a healthy relationship. It's
And we come with like an old school kind of generation of parents where they didn't communicate anything.
No.
Like
I said, you knew you're loved,
yeah,
but it wasn't,
yeah.
it
You
was
were
not
loved
like that.
by the things they provided. They got you a house, they got you school clothing, they got you your binders and your pencils and this and that. They had love shown in a different way. They weren't expressive with it.
But I think even on that point too, it's the old school mentality is men is not supposed to show any weakness at all.
Exactly.
And then also, if you go back to, they thought they were doing the best,
The
they,
best
could,
they
but
could,
no
yeah.
one spoke up. And if
And
no
you know,
one's
like-
saying there's something happening, we just keep doing what we've always done,
One
right?
line that also gets me is like I never try to get frustrated with my parents because like it's their first time living too. They haven't been here before. It's their first time doing everything they're doing, right? Like, yeah.
I
So I'm like,
think-
you know what? It's my first time too, and same with them. So like, I can't be all pissy about why they didn't treat me like this as a kid. They were just trying to figure shit out. They were working. They were
no.
doing things. They were trying stuff. They were new country. All these things, right?
sure.
So it's like, well. They probably did better than I could if I were to move to a new country right now and raise a family and have kids and then send them to school and then work and then this. I'm like, yo, these guys. I
And
have
you're
no-
doing well,
yeah.
which means they did what they can. Like they
Yeah.
did, like they raised you right,
Yeah,
right? Like they did what
exactly.
they're. It's just every single human goes through childhood. That's the whole point, right?
Yeah.
Like you learn and then you grow and then you become the adult. But the new to here, I think about that with my daughter all the time. Like she'll say something and it's like the automatic reaction, like, can you buy me that? She says all the time, can you buy me that? And it gets super annoying super fast. But then I thought about it. I'm like, do you even know what that means? And she's no. She's saying she likes it. She's telling me she likes it, but she's copying our language. So she's using the word, but she doesn't actually know what
No,
she's
the
saying.
actual terms.
Right.
So I'm
Yeah.
getting mad at her and I'm attaching this like fear, or not fear, like this anger, this emotion around, can you buy
Can
me
you buy
that?
me
The
that?
emotion of money. I'm attaching like a
Like a negative
a
stigma
negative,
towards it.
yeah.
Yeah.
When really she just doesn't know what she's saying.
Yeah.
So if you just flip it, and I just will say, can you, instead of saying that, can you tell me you like it? And then she changes her language.
Also, remember what you told me about being in the store? That's kind of fun.
When we pick the things.
Yeah, like what would you buy?
Jim,
Yeah,
this must
that's
have been an
kinda cute.
amazing car ride.
This is
Yeah,
The car ride was
We should have put the camera in the mic.
Should've
in
just
the
put the
car
camera
ride.
in there.
Missing out.
we were
Oracle
in-
drives.
So this is another day, another conversation we had.
was another one, yeah.
But
We were on vacation. We were in like a tourist area, so we were walking. You know, when you're just like walking around all day and they're bored, and so every single store you go in, can you buy me that? Can you buy me that? And so again, it just starts to like, it's your own like money that gets like hit, like your own trigger.
Yeah.
And so then instead of getting frustrated with her, I was like, why don't you show me everything in the store that you would buy? And I'm like, if you had all the money in the world and we could just buy
It's cute.
anything, we could take everything home, what would you buy?
cool. It's a dangerous
And so
ask.
well, she's
Like a
4, so
daydream.
it's not too bad. But
I'll get that
learned,
Louis Vuitton bag.
I know the first thing I said, what store were you in?
Well, the thing is, I learned that
Hopefully, dollar store.
I let her choose her own things at the dollar store, and
Good.
she purchases it herself. Like she'll get like $20, and
That's
she
so
can go to the
cute.
dollar store and buy
Aw, that's
anything she
cute.
wants, and then she goes and buys it because I want her to have positive experiences,
Yeah.
like exchanging money. But I just learned, because it works for all of us, like we were just saying, as soon as I think I can't have something, I want it, and then as soon as I feel like I can have it, I can just kind of let it go. So we started, that was kind of my thought behind it, was if I just like make her feel like she can have anything in the store, then we made it fun, right? So then I'm like, would you want this? How about this? Do you like this?
Yeah.
Would you get this? Would you get 2 of these?
It became like a game,
yeah,
right?
a
And that's what it is. It
Yeah.
keeps the kid intrigued,
Totally.
and they're
Entertained
having
us.
fun, and they're imaginative. Oh, what would I
Totally.
do with this thing? What would I do with that thing? Right? So.
And then you just make it, because then at the end, like she forgot about the word buy. She didn't actually need to take anything home. She
Yeah.
just wanted to feel like she
the
experience,
feel,
yeah.
yeah.
And realistically, a lot of like any material thing anyone owns, you wanted it for the feeling. Like you don't, it's the feeling that you get. The higher status car gives you the higher status feeling. Like that's
Yeah.
all it is. It's a feeling.
It's a feeling, yeah.
Yeah. So if you
Totally.
can create the feeling of that sense of I can buy whatever I want, then she'll grow up feeling that, and then that kind of, you know. But I was gonna say, thank you for bringing up the music aspect of it.
Oh.
Because one thing David is a very solution-oriented person, and so being the passenger, there's so much that I've picked up from him along the way. So then my mind does go towards solution. And I think a lot about, there's so much online where we can get access to different kinds of, I think it's more accepted. Mental health is more accepted now. I think that there are people you can talk to, and there's so many resources and all that stuff coming up. But the people who need the most help are often the people who don't want to talk to anyone. So what about those people? Mm-hmm. Like the majority of people who are struggling are sitting in their bedrooms by themselves, believing that they have no friends and that nobody cares. And the last thing they want to do is pick up the phone and call someone and talk about it. They don't want to. Yeah. So we have all these like kids, right? Like young people that are doing this. So then how do you reach those people, right? And so music, I thought about, there was this mom and she was telling me, or she was at a speech, and so she was telling, not just me, the whole room, that both her son and her husband committed suicide. And sorry to take it deep. But I started thinking about how the most common thing parents say when their child does something drastic is, I had no idea. They didn't know. So it's not a lack of care. The parent would have intervened had they known there was something, but they didn't know. So then I thought about how with music, like you're listening to music that you're attracted to, right? If you're going through a breakup, you're going to listen to breakup style music. So if you pay attention to what your child's listening to, you're going to get a clue into what's going on. Yeah. Whether they're going to open up to you about it or not, that's a totally different thing. But if you're a conscious parent and you're like, hey, what are you listening to? Like, what's your favorite song right now? Like, I don't know. Most people don't want to tell you, first of all. No one wants to tell you their playlist. Yeah. Because it's so personal. It's personalized to who you are and what you're thinking. So then if you can, so music to me is a way that you can access that inner world. And so if you're going through a breakup and you're listening to sad music and then you're getting into that more sad,
right?
So would it not work the opposite way?
Yeah, exactly. If you listen to positive, uplifting music, like stuff that you always have playing and stuff, like it changes your mindset, because music is a big thing that can influence your thinking.
100%. And it's new true. Thought, new words. I don't, like, same as listening to the podcast, you're listening to him for, like, or whoever it is, you just said John Rhodes, that's why I thought him. But you're listening to it because you want someone else's perspective, because yours isn't working.
Yeah, and like coming back to books, right? Like, I read a lot too. For me, why I like reading is, I read this quote a long time ago when I was a kid. It was like, a person who reads no books lives one life, and a person who reads many books lives many lives. Because what you're doing is you're living through someone else's experience, 100%. Right? So I was like, damn, I want to live a lot of lives through
So maybe we're going to interview the boys after. Right? We give them a chance. We'll get your thoughts.
So, Sean, Jim, what did you learn here?
After you pick that up, actually, I do want to say, now that I'm talking about the book, I think the hardest part of writing a book is how much alone time you need, because you have to like dig into your own mind.
Your soul.
Yeah. And I was doing it while being a mom. Like, I was trying to like get my independence to like teach it, and at the same time like being angry to everyone around me for like, you know. And I noticed like the whole time I'm writing this book, I'm thinking about my daughter. Just like when David goes to work every day and he's thinking about us, that's why he's doing it. I'm thinking about her, and I'm doing it so that I can be the mom that she needs me to be. But while I'm writing it, I'm rejecting her. Yeah. And I'm pushing her away.
I was going to ask you that. What were your times of, was it all various times, or did you focus on a certain time of the day?
I learned to do it all over the place.
All on the fly. We were like in airports, and Andrea's like, all right, I'm going to work on my book.
I just, I just like put on headphones. I just like go in. Yeah. But then David also had to get used to me like checking out, because I mentally check out, right? Like it's like, I'm like, pretend I'm not here, because you have to go in. But I didn't want like that whole time, because you know how sometimes you're doing something, but in your mind, you're actually like, I wish I wasn't doing this right now.
Yeah.
I know that too.
You know? You're like, I'm acting this way, but in my mind, I'm like, why am I doing this again? But I can't stop myself, because when you're in it, so I always think like, okay, when I'm in it and I'm aware of it, just say as little as possible, just keep it low. And then once I get myself out of the feeling, go reflect on it. Why did that, like, why was I feeling like that? Why was I being disrupted like that, right? Like, why was I, and because I just kept visioning myself like going through this whole career of like, I want to impact all these girls. And then my daughter is
The
like
one
rejected and alone and
yeah.
has this other total perception of me that like my mom was never around because she
I
was
think,
too
yeah,
busy.
we're easy to guilty ourselves when we're not on 24/7.
Exactly,
Right?
because it's like hard to be in both.
How long did it
So,
take you to write this book?
I've been journaling since I was 18, so a long time with that. But
Wow.
I started since I moved out 2.5 years.
2.5 years.
But I put the picture of my daughter on the back
It's
because I
amazing.
wanted her to feel that she was a part of it because I really wanted, it's all about what you say. So I wanted, by the time it was done, because I really did have to go inwards, and so I could see the ways I was kind of like dropping the ball, but I wanted at the end of it to be able to have her feel that she was a part of it and not
Not,
Yeah.
not left out.
yeah, and so she's so proud, and she'll like
it's
show
so
the back of the
sweet.
book, and like she gets to be, I don't know, and so I wanted it to be the whole.
And that's what kids want. They want inclusiveness.
They do,
Honestly, like, I think that's what comes down to it is like kids want to feel included.
they do.
And
We all do.
even coming into like, school bullying and all the stuff that like everyone grew up with, most of the kids just wanted to feel included.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is. And like, that's perfect right there. You might have had to maybe give not as much time to your daughter in order to write this, but she'll understand that, hey, my mom did this for me
Mm-hmm.
to include me.
Which is, yeah. Well, because a lot of times we probably are looking for inclusion outside of the home because we didn't feel it in the
Included
home.
at home.
Like a lot of
Exactly.
times we're under the same roof, but we're in our own worlds, right? We've got the headphones on and we're in our room doing whatever. So you're off in this other world, meanwhile. So because at the end of the day, I feel like it's great to talk to someone, to talk to a therapist, to talk to whatever that is you need. But at the end of the day, no matter who you choose to talk to, it's going to go back to you talking about your issues in childhood.
Yeah.
And so the best thing you can do is heal your childhood, so your relationship with your parents.
Yeah.
So because at the end of the day, every single one of us, it's whatever our parents showed us, and it's that relationship that's causing all of the rest of them.
Because like they're your inner
Yeah.
voice when you're growing
Yeah.
up first. They're the voice that's filling you. Like
And it's so easy for us to go towards like they're toxic, I don't need them, they're the past, I'm this now, but we do. So I think about like, okay, that's fine, I can be a therapist and I can go sit one-on-one and talk to this kid, but at the end of the day, it's more important to me to connect that kid back to her caregivers, whoever they are, like her big people, right, or his big people, because that is then going to go through life versus just, I think we're just too individualized sometimes. Like it's that we need each other, and kids need their parents. They just do. And I think as parents, it's up to us to be more aware of what our kids are consuming and consume better stuff ourselves so that we are then showing that.
That's awesome.
Because we lead by example. The
Your
Oracle
best self.
experience.
it's crazy you said that because last night I listened to this random reel that came up and it was like, stop yelling at your kids before they go to school expecting for them to have a good day. And stop lecturing your kids before they go to bed and expecting them to have a good sleep.
Yeah, like what are you, like
I
it's
was like,
always, what are
damn.
you doing?
Yeah. I was like, damn, that's really deep because you have to watch how you treat your kids. You're literally programming them.
But again, music, my favorite thing is listening back to the music that you listened to growing up
Growing up?
because it makes you be like,
Yeah,
oh, okay, I
all right.
understand.
I know what I was feeling. Like I was feeling that at that time, right? Yeah.
My kids don't know any of it, but it's like,
Yeah.
But it's personal. Like your
I
music is
know,
very, and like
I
think
know.
about a song can take you like way back, and it's like you're in that moment. So you have things that remind you about good times, and you also have ones that reminded of bad times. So then, as someone, because everyone with journaling, I'm like obviously I wrote a book, so obviously I'm pretty comfortable journaling.
Yeah.
And most people just don't know how to start. And I feel like music is a way where, because when you're watching something, like someone watching something, you're looking at it outside of yourself. So I'm watching you do it, and I think that's awesome for you, and it's inspiring me, and it's all the things that I want for myself, but I'm still seeing you do it. And then I feel like listening to a podcast, it's better because now I'm more consumed in it, but I'm still listening to your perception. Whereas with music, I'm listening, but I'm not as much focused on like what the words are saying. It's more like it's sparking my own thought. Yeah, my own thought is being triggered.
It's making you creative.
Yeah, related somewhat, I guess, to the lyric, whatever it's coming, but it's mostly the feeling that was created through the song that's sparking your own feeling, right? So then I've found if I play music, then I can journal, and it's interesting what comes up because it's triggering that. So if you do that with a song that reminds you of like your first love or something, it's going to trigger memories.
Yeah.
And if you do it
or those pent up emotions that you never released out kind
exactly.
of thing. Yeah.
And then if you do it with something that's a more like newer song, new thought, whatever, then I feel like it's more creative. Like that comes in.
Awesome.
So it's like easy to
We're
start.
almost at the home stretch. I have 2 final questions for both of you guys. Since we're already talking about the book, this is kind of a 2-parter here. So we'll start off with you, Andrea. Who should read this, and what are they going to take from it?
Who should read this?
And if you want to say everyone should read it, that's a great answer too.
Including
Because I'm already sold.
Right?
I wrote it with the intention of talking to parents like millennial is kind of the generation, because music wise I feel like it just relates most, and I talk about music a lot. But parents in general, I wrote it for parents to start taking recognition and self-ownership of their own stories and them doing the work on themselves so that they can then be the example for, so parents, I guess, is really who I wrote it for, but also the teenage girl, because I think, as we were talking earlier, where it's like you almost get emotionally stunted, so you can be 50 years old and have the the mentality of a 15-year-old. Like the age doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So I feel like anyone who is looking to get to know themselves better and build confidence, I wrote it for you.
There we go. And as you go through this book, it says on the first page how to build self-confidence. There is a lot of things that you're going to be taking away from this, so definitely get this on Amazon, or even contact the Oracle
us or
Property Group.
David has sold so many of my books.
Are we even surprised?
He's the best salesperson ever. He's like, as soon as I got them printed, he's just like, yeah, he's great.
How do I get it? I'll have it there tomorrow.
Yeah, he's so good.
And Suzanne, our final question. I feel like there's so much more to know about you that we don't have enough time on this podcast. You had a business, personal training. Now you're in real estate.
Worked in a prison.
Right? Singing the ABCs.
Right?
What is one piece of advice you would give to younger Suzanne?
The younger Suzanne. I guess maybe believing in myself a little bit more and not being so hard on myself. Yeah.
That's so huge.
I love that.
Because like today morning I woke up thinking to myself, like, why am I so self-critical?
Yeah.
I'm like I watch every little thing I do, and I'm very, very like strict on myself and all these things. But I'm like, where does it come from?
We all are.
Like,
I know.
why? What? Who?
I can tell you.
I'm like very. I remember. Right? I want to read it.
You just walked right into it. I love it. I love it.
So it's like, but then it comes back to like I love David Goggins, and he's like the ones who are usually the most successful and the hardest working are the ones who are very self-critical, because they hold themselves to a certain angle of degree. Like they need to. It's not that they're trying to prove anything to themselves. They're showing that they got one life to live, and they're trying to just live it to the best, to the extent that they can. You know? So it's like, it doesn't come down to finances or fancy cars and houses. It's like how you actually feel inside. Because there was like this study done. People who actually save money and go travel and see the world are more happier than people who go buy glamorous things.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like, prove it. I was like, wow, yeah, perfect.
at the end of the day, I feel like you can make all the money in the world, but if there's no one to share it with, like if you did it the wrong way and now you're miserable at the end, like those people, like there's a lot of unhappy, very wealthy people. Like there's a lot of people in the world who have a lot of money who are miserable because they don't have relationships, versus there can be someone who like lives on the street, but they've got a whole community around them and they're happy as can be. They've got freedom. I think so. It
Sean,
has
correct me
nothing.
if I'm wrong. Was it Judah who took money for being a trader?
Judas,
right? So he took money for being a trader. He had all the wealth now, but he wasn't happy. He tried to
Buddha's
return
the
the
same
money.
thing, right? He like it was
Yeah,
like a lot.
and,
It's the
Judas
lesson
ended
learned.
up killing himself, right?
Yes, he did end up killing himself.
So like that's like how you feel about yourself is more important than the money and all these things, right? So you could
Absolutely.
be a trader, but now you're a trader inside, and your own soul and body will know these things.
100%.
And we close with this. No, it's live a life worth living, right?
Live a life worth living.
Live a
Yeah.
life worth living. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Be open to failure, because if there's one thing I always like to live by is I would rather go through something and fail than regretting and thinking back and thinking, oh, should I have done this? Be open to all those
I
things.
think I always say that to my kids, live your best life.
Live your
right?
best life.
Also, get comfortable with embarrassing yourself.
Yeah. Like 10 years from the road, like we'll regret more the things we didn't do than the things we did.
Absolutely.
So like, just take the risk.
The
do
what
it.
do I have to lose
Yeah.
is a really
What do I have
great,
to
like,
lose?
you just like, I don't know, tomorrow's a new day, it's fine.
Yeah,
It's fine.
yeah. And sometimes you do wake up on the wrong side of the bed.
You do.
And that's life, right?
And
Like
sometimes-
that's life. It's ups and
Yeah.
downs. That's just how it goes. And like most people think life has to be this perfect. Everything has to be spot on, this and that. And I play this sport called golf. You want to hit the ball dead down the fairway, you want a perfect shot, but life does not go as it's planned. You might have a plan to drop this putt, but it just might not go. And that's life. Nothing usually goes as planned, but you just have to try.
But also,
know?
it's that you learn in the times it didn't. Like, the bad day teaches you more about yourself than the good
Than
day.
the good days.
day is the
Good days fly
result
by.
of you getting through
Yeah,
the bad
good days fly by.
Yeah.
Bad days seem like they're forever.
I feel
right?
like it's in those bad days of what you do with that time and if you utilize it or not, that's how you're either, you know what I mean? Like, that's
Yeah.
the part. So I think people forget that, and then everyone's just getting for the good. Like, we just want that over there. But you gotta, like, enjoy this too.
Yeah. And final closing, you could get down 7 times, but make sure you get up that 8th.
Yeah.
And that is it.
Thank you
so
so
much,
much.
guys, for coming on.
So I want to thank Sean for organizing this too. Thank you for all the
Sean.
questions
Here's mine.
and being more organized than us. We just show up, right?
You show up too.
Right? For
This is
anyone
fun.
out there, if you do want a really great book, read Happy, Pretty, Outgoing, and Rich. I would highly recommend it, especially if you want some self-reflecting and you just want to know what you're about. I would definitely get this book. Reach out on Amazon or reach out to us at Oracle. David Sen's a great salesman. He'll probably get you a book. He'll deliver it, but just reach out to us anytime.
See ya.
Thank you.